Hey guys, just was speaking with Scotty here and mentioned his lasers were shooting out the right side of his hand. So I will try and mimic that a little bit with my hand models. So let's see, I will take these guys. I think typically they look like this when they're children, so when I hit play, boom. And if I'm hitting, where is it? Right, working on a new one. There we go. So kind of like this where it's shooting out the side of your hand is just because our empty game object, that's the parent of all this stuff, has not been properly defined. It's or sorry, not been properly oriented with our hands.
Okay.
So what we end up doing is select both of our hand models. Want to line it up with our controller. So when I select the hand PM, I want to select. It's going to let me know which direction is forward. So that blue arrow. Okay, so I mentioned this was really important at the beginning, just knowing which orientation is there. With that said, the blue arrow is representing forward, so we're going to take our hands. We're going to make sure that they're facing that direction as well. So hand models, I will change the Y rotation to, let's say, 90. So the opposite direction, so I actually want to do negative 90. Right, so now it's pointing forward. And then I'm going to take my Z, I'm going to set that to 45. So now it looks like it's pointing the right direction. Now if you had your camera positioned incorrectly as well, what I would recommend you doing is take your camera, set its transform values, 0, 0, 0, right? Just reset everything. Well, let me click, just a moment. You just reset everything. Now your camera is inside your hand. You just bring it back and bring it up a little bit so now you can see over your hand. So that in terms of it shooting out of the right side of your hand, I hope that answers that, solves that issue there. Scotty, what else did you say was the problem?
Okay. That was it. I just and then when I was looking at trying to hook up my Vive and look into the system when I press play, I'm in the scene, but for some reason I have no idea what my controllers are in relationship to my hand, and I'm not sure how uh, to have them work together. I've looked at every video uh, in the past that we've had as lessons, and I still am lost as in terms of trying to configure that.
So,
So, which is why I'm still on the keyboard trying to just keep up that way.
oh, I'm sorry, your voice like cracks out here and there. It's like robotic. Could you repeat part of that again? Sorry, just slowly.
Um, I was saying that my Vive system, I'm having issues locating my controllers. So, and that's the reason why I'm still using my keyboard and my mouse.
Ah,
And when I go into the scene, when I do hook up the Vive, uh, I have no idea where the controllers are. And I don't know how to get them connected to my actual hand, so I can be kind of where Chad is, where he's in his scene with his controllers, and I
I
just
see.
rather than
Now,
be behind, I'll just keep doing it the way I'm doing it.
right, with those controllers, you're referring to them not being digitally there. You have them in hardware-wise, right? You're not like
That is
missing them.
correct.
Okay. Now, when you are running your system, do the lights on those controllers turn green or are they blue?
They turn green.
They turn green. I see. They are not, and you can't seem to locate them in the.
I located them once, but they were so far away. They weren't,
Ah, I see what you're talking about.
and they weren't anywhere close to where I could figure out how to get them
All right.
into the scene where I was actually working.
Now, do you have a main camera in your hierarchy tab?
Yes.
Delete the main camera, because what's happening in your case is the main camera is overriding the camera of your camera rig, and that's why you're getting rendered far away.
So delete it completely. Don't just check it off. I mean, uncheck it.
Either or is fine. The one that says main camera, you don't want that in your scene. You can delete it if you
Got
have.
you. Yeah, I don't have that. I've just checked it off, so it's not working.
Okay.
I do have the camera working, so I don't know if that's the camera for the camera rig or the camera for the hand, which I think is the camera for the hand.
So when it comes to testing out your Vive, you just want all the other cameras off except the camera rig.
If that's what's ideal, yeah. Because I can see the scene, I can see where I'm at, all of that's fine. I get, I'm oriented and everything. But when it comes to trying to find my, you know, um,
Controllers, yeah.
controllers, I can look around the entire scene and I can't find them. And then when I did find them once, they were so far away, I could grab them, but I couldn't get them to where I was, if that makes
Right.
any sense.
Yeah. So in
But
that situation, what's happening is your main camera was overriding your camera rig, and so you were looking through your main camera, which could have been, over here, but your controller and your camera rig are over here.
that's correct.
And so that's why they looked so far away. It was just a different, you were looking through the lens of a different camera.
Okay, I'll figure it out. I think I know I know what I did now when you said that. So I'll fix that and then I should be ready by Wednesday.
Okay, cool. Now, with that said, we're gonna do what's called a pointer grab. You will point at something, and instead of teleporting to it, it will teleport to you. Similar concept to what we did with our teleport laser. It's going to create one for our pointer grab. And let me go in here and we'll just create. Alright, so here we are. We're just going to create a new laser. So let's go down to our hierarchy tab, just create 3D object. And as you know, we just take the scale, X 0.05, Y 0.05, and the Z, just going to set that to 0. And so again, this is our pointer grabs laser, so let's create a blue material for it. So back in our projects tab, we're going to go material, and let's say pointer AM, matte. Well, I'll say pointer matte AM. So pointer material AM. And I'm going to change the shader from standard to unlit color. And I'll just change the color to something different besides red. One moment. Sorry, as I was saying, the changing color to something different so that when I apply this, boom, we can identify this as a separate laser that will, instead of teleporting us to them, it will pull the object towards us instantly. Now with that said, we're going to select this laser and remove its box collider. We don't need that. This is just a visual representation of what we're looking for. And I'm going to rename this guy to pointer grab. Then I click and drag that into my projects tab, and boom, we have our next laser. Alright, so I'll quickly repeat that and just teach you guys to follow along. Make sure you have it as well. In our hierarchy tab, just right click and create 3D object. You get a cube. You take that cube's scale, set that to 0.05 in the X, 0.05 in the Y, and then just 0 in the Z. We're going to right click on the box collider and remove it. Don't want a box collider on this thing. And then in our project tab, we're going to right click, create a material. Alright, so we have this cube defined. small scale 0.05, 0.05 XY, and then 0 in the Z. We delete the box collider from it, right click in our projects tab to start creating a material. You want to do this in your laser folder or your materials folder. You're going to go to create material and just call this one pointer grab. Or let's say pointer mat. I said AM, but it's up to you what you want to call it. Once you've created this mat, go up to where it says shader standard. Click on standard and go to unlit color. So that was at the top right of your inspector. So you have your material selected, go up to the top right where it says shader standard, click on that, say unlit color. Go down to unlit, drop down, color appears. Next, click on that white, the big white rectangle so that you can change its color. I'm going to go with something closer to a nice blue. You guys can definitely pick something else. And once you have it, boom, apply it onto your, what will be your pointer laser. And once you have that, you take your cube, rename it to pointer grab laser, and just click and drag that into your projects tab, and boom, you have your prefab prepared for your next laser script. And then you can remove it from your scene. Let's bring that up. Alright, so now with this new one, I'm going to right click in here and create a new C# script. We're going to call this one pointer grab, and your guys' class code is AN, afternoon. So pointer grab, let's open this guy up and we'll take a look at how we can implement this. In a moment to load. There we go. So this is going to be very similar to how we wrote our teleport script. So I'm going to get you guys to copy that one, and we'll make adjustments from there. Let's find your teleport script. Right? Copy the part that's, between the very last curly bracket and the very first curly bracket. This is basically keeping it inside the scope of the actual script. You don't want to copy the actual class name here, just everything in between. And once you have that copied, you're just going to paste over line 6 to 15 basically, where all these functions are. And again, remembering to keep this in the scope of the pointer grab script. Boom. So now you have another teleport function. Okay. So we have these set up so that we can show our laser. I believe this is the one we were using. So make sure this is the correct teleport script that we had. Teleport AN. Sorry, I'm just going to make sure I'm using the same teleport function that you guys were using. It's teleport AN, okay. So this is the one we were using. I'm going to copy and paste this one just to make sure I don't have anything different than you guys. Okay, cool. So if you're using the Vive, the classic block of code that we've written for you, just to make it nice and easy, going forward. And you should have the show laser function. You have the laser prefab, the laser, the hit point, all this good stuff that we can use from before. And then when it comes to camera rig transform and should teleport, we're going to change these up a little bit. So we don't need the camera rig. We don't need to refer to that anymore. So nor do we need to refer to should we teleport. So let's delete these variables first. We're going to create a few different ones. We're going to say public bool can pick up. So this will let us know whether or not we can actually pick the object up. This is what this boolean will be for. And similar to how we had the one for our grab function, where letting us know whether or not we are actually holding an object. So we go public bool object held. And lastly, we're going to make sure we have a reference to the actual object. This doesn't need to be public. But yeah, let's make it public for now. Public transform. And this will be the hit object. So again, what these variables are referring to is this is going to let us know whether or not we can pick the object up. And we're doing this check by simply saying, the colliding object. When we were using our grab function, we were saying, colliding object if we even have one. And this will be another way of saying that. Object held will let us know that we are in fact holding an object like we did with object in hand. And lastly, the hit object. This will be telling us what the object we're pointing at is. Now the show laser is perfectly fine. We don't need to mess with that. Same with the laser instantiation. This is all good. Keep this the same. Now in terms of what we want to change. Now we're using mouse 1 here. We don't necessarily want to be doing that, but let's use some different key. We'll say as long as you're holding perhaps let's say the P key, so for point. So let's say if you're holding the P key and object held is false. This is one way of checking if object held is false. You can also just put an exclamation mark before the Boolean variable, and that basically is the same thing. I'll leave this so it's a bit easier to read. So here, checking to see if you're holding down the P key and if an object is being held. If it's not being held, then we can actually point our laser and try to pick up another object. Now, here, instead of doing the whole should teleport function, we're going to check instead, see if the object we're touching has a rigid body. One more thing, we want to make sure we have a reference to the object we're hitting. So, we've created this raycast hit variable. We use the physics raycast to point our laser out. We show that laser with a visual representation. But now, we want to make sure we have a reference to the object we hit. So the hit object is equal to hit dot transform. So now we have a reference to what object we're pointing at. Now instead of should teleport, we're going to create another if statement. We're going to say, nope. Sorry about that. We're going to say if, what the heck? Why is it putting it there? This if statement, we're going to see the hit object dot get component rigid body. So this is us checking whether or not the object we're pointing at has a rigid body. If it does, this is where our can pick up variable comes in and we say it's true. Else, we say it is false. Now else, instead of saying should teleport is false, laser.setActive is false, we're just going to change to should teleport. We can get rid of that entirely. If you want, we can also just say can pick up is false. I'm not pointing at anything, this variable doesn't need to be true. So those are the few adjustments we made. We got rid of the, let me undo a bunch and just walk through some of these together. Okay, so the first thing we did was, in our if statement, just going to use a different input method so that we're not using the same one as our actual laser or a grab function. And then we check this time to see if we're holding an object. Yeah. If we're not holding an object, there's no reason to cast the laser. And then when we do cast the laser, the first adjustment we're going to make is should teleport, or sorry, we get a reference to the hit object. So we say the hit object dot transform is equal, the hit object is equal to hit dot transform. So the hit gives us all this information. It also tells us what object we've hit. So we get a nice reference to it. Get rid of the should teleport line. Replace that with an if statement that checks to see if the hit object has a rigid body. Now this will let us know if we can actually pick up that object. So it can pick up equals true. Else it is false. And when it comes to the other else statement, outside when we're not actually pointing our laser, we'll just say can pick up is false instead of should teleport is false. Alright. Okay. And now, going to introduce a different input method. Now, Scotty, you're using the Vive. Chad, what are you using again? You're using Oculus or Vive as well?
I'm using the Rift.
Using the Rift, okay. Alright. So we want to use... Okay. So for this one, depending on which hand you've attached it to, you just want the pointer grab on a different hand, or you can put it on the same hand and sort of choose which one to turn on and off. Sorry about that. Now, so instead of this calling calling the teleport function, what we'll do is first change the input method. We don't want mouse 1 anymore. We want to just use P. So we let go of the P key. And instead of should teleport, we're checking to see can we pick up the object. So can pick up. That's true. If it is, we're going to, instead of taking our camera rig, moving it to the hit point, we will call the grab object function. So let's get rid of this one. We don't need this. We don't need this tele function in our pointer grab script. So if input dot get key up P and can pick up are true, we will call a grab function. This one point we don't want to make it the same name as our actual function, so let's just call it grab pointed. There we go. So create a function called grab pointed. Now, basically doing this again. So it's going to be a little different because we're using grab. The if statements are going to be slightly different in terms of structure. But for now, let's just say P will be letting us know that we're pointing the laser. And when we actually want to grab something, we'll, instead of just P, we'll say get key down O. So we'll be holding P to point at something. When we're ready to pick it up, we'll push down the O button. Right? Then we'll check, if we can pick up the object, we'll call the grab pointed function. But if, basically the same thing here. But if get key up O, and instead of checking can we pick up, we're going to check if we're actually holding some objects, so the hit object. Referring to this. So this will let us know that we're actually holding an object. If we are, we then call the release object. So we'll call release pointed. There we go. So these are the new if statements. And for you guys using the Vive and Oculus, you're just changing a button.1 to button.2 if you'd like. You can keep it the same. Yeah, it's going forward. Let's write out our grab pointed functions. So out here, does anyone need time catching up to this point?
No, I'm okay.
Chad, you good?
I'm not. I'm just looking. I'm not doing anything. So.
All right, no worries.
Yeah.
No, man, I was gonna return it. I was gonna do it again, but I know some of you guys aren't bothering with the Berkeley method and just write it down the first time.
No, Scotty's keeping up good going because I'm not. I'm just watching. I'm not trying to type and listen. It doesn't work for me. I have to like listen to the whole thing and then go back and do it.
Right. So have you caught up to the point with the if statement here? Chad?
And like I said, I'm not even doing it. I'm not just watching.
Oh, you're just
I don't know
watching.
where Scotty. I don't know if Scott, like I said, if Scotty's able to do this, let him keep on going. I'm not able to keep up with that. It's too fast. I can't listen and do it.
So you want me to repeat this again?
No, unless Scotty wants it. Just keep on going. Do it at his pace.
I'm good. I do both, so I'm fine either way. But yeah, I'm going as you go.
Okay. This is interesting.
I got jammed up from the very beginning with just getting the damn cube on there and trying to get the material going. So
I see. Okay. Are you going to watch the recording for it, or you want me to just do it now?
Yeah, I'll watch the recording. I'll end up having to do this, which is fine.
Okay.
I work better actually with, to be honest, like listen to the whole thing and then go back and then redo it. I can't multitask.
Okay, fair enough. Now, with that said, we're going to create that grab pointed and release pointed functions, making sure that we're outside the scope of the update loop, right? So select that curly bracket, scroll down until you see that highlighted curly bracket. Now we know we have to write after that, so we'll go void. We call this one grab pointed. Notice that now that's not red anymore. So the grab pointed function. I'm just going to make sure I was recording, in fact. Yep. Okay. Now in our grab pointed function, what we're going to write is the hit object dot position is equal to the transform dot position. So now this is going to be, the script's going to be attached to our controllers. So when I say the hit object, that's referring to the one we were pointing at, and then we're taking its position and making it equal to the transform dot position. So it's basically snapping that guy's position to our hand, right? Because transform is going to refer just to the controller. And then we'll call the grab function, which we did before, right? We did fixed joint, just call it joint, and we'll say add fixed joint. So this is another function we did. So this is similar to how we did the grab function. You know, we made that a while back. We'll just say joint dot connected body is equal to the hit object dot get component rigid body. So again, if you're particularly confused about this part, definitely worth checking out the previous tutorial on throwing objects. That's when we did this before. But the idea is, when you call the grab pointed function, we take the other object, move it so that it's positioned within our hand. When it's at the same position as our hand, we can then add a fixed joint between our hand and the other object. So that's what this function is going to do. We're going to write this one next. And then once that's said and done, and we've connected the body, we'll simply just make sure we have a reference and just say, you know, object held is true. I'll give you a moment to catch up to that point.
Okay.
Right. So the one we write after the grab pointed function is make sure we have that add fixed joint function that we need. So we'll go void fixed, or not void, sorry, we'll just say fixed joint. So we'll just call this function add fixed joint. This is returning to where we learned that we don't need to necessarily create a function and use the word void. That just means it has no return type. This doesn't return anything. But if we make a function have a particular value, particular data type before we declare it, that means this can return a fixed joint variable. So we can go fixed joint fx is equal to game object dot add component fixed joint. Alright, so now our hand with this function so far will have a fixed joint physics component on it. So that will be there. Now by itself it doesn't do very much. And if you want, at this point in time, you can adjust the break force of this joint before we even attach it to an object. So say break torque equals whatever you'd like, so 20,000 for example. But in either case, when you're ready, just return this fixed joint. So this is the part that's unique to variables that, or functions that have a variable type before their name. So now that this is returned, the word joint, when we declare it here, we'll call this add fixed joint function, will then return the fixed joint that we've added to our hand. after that, after we've added that fixed joint to our hand, joint has a reference to it. It will then say, you know, let's make its connected body equal to the object that we're pointing at. So that object we're pointing at, to connect it, we just need to get its rigid body component. So bam. First thing, grab pointed. We take the other object, we take its position, you know, the hit object, that's the other object. We make it equal to our position. When we don't proceed, when we just say transform, that means the object the script is attached to. So other object position now equal to our hand's position. We need to create a fixed joint on our hand. So we created a add fixed joint function, which then, you know, reads through this. We use the, you know, add component function to our transform, to our hand. Boom, we have a fixed joint. We then make sure that this joint variable knows what that knows where that fixed joint is, so that we can say joint.connectedBody equals the other object. Now, you can't just refer to the object's transform. We need to make sure we have a reference to its rigid body to make the connection. That's typically the case when you're doing physics-based calculations. You need a rigid body. And then lastly, we just want to make sure our script knows that we are in fact holding an object. Alright. And then the release pointed function. So we did that, structured a hand together. Now release pointed, we're going to create that function as well. We'll just create a void. This time it doesn't need to release anything. Or sorry, it doesn't need to return anything. It does need to release. Release pointed is going to first check. Does our hand have a fixed joint? It may be the case that while you were holding an object, you managed to break the fixed joint that you had. And so this function needs to make sure that you aren't trying to release an object after you've already had it broken off your hand. So that's why it checks. Does our hand have a fixed joint? If it does, then we can destroy it. Destroy, get component, fixed joint. Perfect. Now, again, like we were throwing before, so we can throw here as well. We'll say the hit object dot get component rigid body dot velocity equals controller dot velocity. So this works for the Vive users out there. And basically the same line again, but instead of velocity, we're using angular velocity. Now, I remember going over with you guys a different way to do this throwing part that happened to work a bit better. I'm going to pull that up here in a second. But after this point, just write outside of the if statement, the hit object is equal to null. So we reset the reference. And we say object held is equal to false. A few adjustments when it comes to this laser pointer thing, but very similar to our grab function. Sorry, let me move that out of the way. Okay. Okay, you have enough time to copy that down?
Yes.
Alright. I was gonna mention over what we review a little bit of what we did. So now, if you if you're holding down the P key, now if you're using the Vive, instead of get press, what we get you to do is replace get press with get touch. This is going to basically, if you're touching the touchpad, boom, it's going to be casting the laser. So that when you squeeze it down, grab the pointed. When you let it go, release the pointed. So look for where you did that if statement in your teleport script or in your now copied and pasted script. Just replace get press with get touch. Alright.
Hey, Usman.
Yes.
Sorry to bother you. I got a call from the hospital. My dad's in the hospital, so I'm gonna have to drop out. Are you gonna post this video later today or tomorrow?
Yes, for sure.
All right. Sorry to
Sorry
drop
about
out.
that, Chad.
What's going
Hey,
on
good
with
luck
you?
to your dad, Chad, and your family.
Yeah,
Thank
good
you
luck,
very
Chad.
much. Y'all take
Take
care.
care.
Bye.
Alright. Were you able to get the get touch part, Scotty?
Yes. Now, in the other set of notes, where it says get press up a little bit further down, like line 77. Do I change that to get touch up?
No, so this one's fine.
Okay.
What you want to do is, sorry, for when we are doing the grab pointed,
hmm
where you do get press up, change that to get press down.
Okay.
Right? And then for before you release, I want you to actually do get press up instead.
Okay.
There you go. Basically, for all of you, you're replacing this get key up, get key down with your version of the Vive controllers or the Oculus controllers. So you would want to do get button down and get button up, right? Using the particular get down, get up in these two slots, whichever button you decide to go with.
Okay.
Mm. Okay, now with that said, and yeah, sorry, you said you had got this get touchdown, right?
Yes, correct. Correct.
Alright, so that actually should handle it for the most part. Let's see if I can give this a whirl. Don't believe I can do these two, release pointed with simulated hand. So I will have to comment these out. I save this bit here. And looking for the letters P and O. Okay, so that's what I'll use.
Well, I have to do the same thing because my uh, area right there as well is red where the get component rigid body is. Do I need to comment those out too?
Yeah,
Like
for
you
now
just did?
we're gonna just test them out with the simulated
Okay.
hand. Yeah, comment these out. Alright. Now when you have that ready, I'm just going to take that script and attach it to your hands. So where's my hand? PM. Boom, there it is. Got my hand move, teleport, PM. But where is my pointer? Grab. And there we go. So now all this needs is the laser prefab. So let's go into our laser prefab folder. Click and drag our pointer grab laser into that slot. When I hit P, or when I hit play, be able to move this guy around. Nope. That's set to the instance of an object. Right. Right, since it's a simulated hand, this block of code at the beginning is going to cause some problems. So I'm going to comment this line out, this block out. It's not going to be able to find a controller when it's attached to the simulated hand. Yep, make sure I still comment out those other if statements directed for the Vive. Okay, that should handle it. Sorry about that. Hit play. So now if I hit P and point this laser, and if I push O down, interesting. Let's see what's going on. So detected the hit object. Does this object not have a rigid body? It does not. That's why. Okay. So let me just quickly add a rigid body to this cube. I'm not going to use gravity for now. Alright. That should address that. So pressing P, pointing out this object, it has a rigid body. Push O. Bam. Now it is attached. So when I move around, boom, I can move this cube, and when I release O, we're good to go. Okay. Now one of the problems that's arising is a null reference exception when I push the letter O without actually touching an object. Get can pickup is true. So there's a point in which can pickup is not being set to true or set to false, and that is here at this point. So making sure to add this bit here where it said can pickup is false if we're not holding down the P key. So that should address that issue. Shouldn't call the function otherwise. Alright. That should address it. Some errors happen here and there. Alright, there we go. So that solved that. Boom. I can pick it up. I can release it. Alright. So how's that looking for you, Scotty?
I have some errors, so I'm not sure. I stopped watching once I got the errors to kind of keep up with you.
Okay. Yeah, I walked through some errors as well, so let's see if you had similar ones. Get you to read out if there is any errors. You're not able to share your screen, is that right?
I might be able to. Hold on here. Let's see.
Alright, there we go.
Okay, so press play. All right, so
Yeah.
those should be commented out. Why are they still giving me errors? Do I need to save?
Maybe.
All right, let's try that again.
Yeah, just hit the clear button. Okay, there we go. Okay. So unassigned variable laser prefab has not been assigned. Right, so back in our script, back in the editor, we just need to make sure we click and drag that laser prefab into the script component of our hand. Did you make the laser a prefab, Scotty?
Yeah, I think I did. Hold on.
Yeah, see if you can find it in the projects tab. There you go. So now you can delete the one that's in your scene already. Select the hand. Yeah, so now you just want to select the hand and look for that script where it says laser prefab as a child. There you go. And that's what it's looking for. Awesome. Can you hold down the P key and try to shoot a laser? Yeah, can you get your hand out of there? Like just move your hand so that's your camera right now, right?
Yes.
You want to select the hand main object there. Alright, Scott, here's what I'll get you to. Hit play.
Okay.
Hit play, so you're out of play mode.
Oh, yeah.
You have your hand there. I'm going to get you to take your hand, the one you have selected, go to the rotation part of its transform and just reset that to 0. Okay, awesome. Now select your hands open and hands closed. Both of them. Alright, now look at their rotation
Yep.
and just 0 those out. Okay. Can you click on where it says, you know it says local right now at the top left, right above the scene tab? Select global and hit W so that we can see the move tool. Okay, you see the blue arrow, that's where we want our hands to point. So let's go to a rotation and set the Y to -90. And let's set the Z to +45. Okay, cool. That handles a bit of that. Let's go to our camera. Yeah. Now let's just right click on the word transform and click on reset. Boom. So it gets nice centered. We can take the position of our camera, move it back so that we can see the hand, and then move it up a bit so we can see over our hand. Then you just zoom out there. Yeah. There we go. Perfect. So that looks good. Alright. And let's select our hand parent object. Okay, so that looks solid. Go ahead, hit play now. Let's enter play mode and try to press the P key. P for Papa. Alright, so cool. There's the laser. Now while holding P, press the O button. There you go. Awesome. Now if you let go of the O button, you should drop the gun, right? There you go, man. Right on, Scotty. It's working.
Couldn't do without you, man. It's crazy. I can't do it until I hear your voice. And then when I hear your voice, I kind of relax and can do it.
I'm glad. Takes a little getting used to, I guess. Alright. So the next thing that we're going to do is update our teleport function so that it teleports a little bit better, I guess you can say. Take this back out here. So now I don't know if you've noticed, but currently, let me open up Paint, will help me explain this. So you have your camera rig right now. This is valid for OVR users as well, or Oculus users as well. And in your camera you have the center, right? This is the center point of your camera rig object. Now you, however, as the user, can be anywhere around. You can even sometimes walk out of the camera rig boundaries a little bit, but let's just assume you can. Now let's say you're over here, or let's say you're doing this. So now you're in the center, and you're going to shoot a raycast to point over here so you can teleport there. So you know what? No problem. That's you. It's you pointing over there, and then you point there, you want to teleport, next thing you know, bam, you're over there. However, this doesn't work as nicely as when you're not in the perfect center. So let's say I am now, let's say this is another situation. So this one, create another camera rig. And this time you are in the corner. So you're over here. Now the center of the camera rig isn't any different, so it's still over here somewhere. Okay. So now this time, when you decide to point your laser somewhere to teleport, you want to go over here. The whole camera rig is going to move over there as we programmed it to do, but it's going to teleport like this. And you, as the user, will not move exactly where you're pointing. So that it seems a little off, and here's where it becomes an even bigger problem. If you're up against a wall, so there's some wall over here, and you're using your camera rig as a reference point. Let me separate these here. Oh. So this is your camera rig this time. You have your user towards the edge here. But you have your camera rig center over here. So this time when you point your laser over here, for example, right in front of the wall, your camera rig, instead of teleporting you over here, you get teleported like this. Because where you point, the center of your whole camera rig goes rather than you yourself go. Now this is required. We don't want to actually just teleport the user. We don't want to move him out of the camera rig because then we have some problems with boundaries. So this time what we need to do is instead teleport with a difference. A difference that's been calculated. So it ends up looking more like this here. Let me move these up a bit. So even with the center over here, even with the user up here somewhere, the wall, and then the user pointing over here, for example. Pointing over here. This laser. Instead of being teleported like this, we want the user to be teleported like that. So that's the goal. Now we're doing that. What we're going to do is figure out the difference between the user and the center. So in this example, what we would do is we would take the distance between the user and the center of the camera rig. We would then apply that, it's taking this distance, so taking this distance and applying it here as well. So wherever you point this, and if you point someplace, we would then remember this distance, and then take the position, subtract it so that it then moves back to this position. So now it actually looks like your user has moved one for one where he's pointing. There you go. That's the goal. And that's what all it requires is a few different edits to our script. So let's go to our teleport script. Teleport AN. Okay. So we're going to add a few lines here. So again, this was our block of code for our Vive users. At the very beginning, we're going to type in a public boolean, and this will help us determine whether or not we want to teleport with a difference. So this is allowing you to check whether or not this even works. I wonder if it's worthwhile to even do that. Could just overwrite it. So let's just overwrite it instead. Save us some writing. So what we'll need is a reference to the player itself. Public. This is going to be a reference to the player head. Let's say head transform. And what I'm talking about, let me finish this line of code and let's look into Unity. What I'm talking about is under your camera rig, you're going to find a camera head. That's what we want to use. We're going to use that in our teleport scripts, right? Alright, so head transform, that's the variable we need. Now, the rest is very similar. We're actually just going to update our telescript. So we're not going to use this telescript. We're going to comment this out. We're going to create a new one. Instead of tele, we're going to say teleport with a difference. Again, bad with names, but name it whatever you like. Teleport with a difference. So that'll be our new function. So we'll go void teleport with a difference. So that's what we've done. Commenting out the function call for the old tele function, placing with a new function call. For a new teleport function, we'll call teleport with a difference, and then we'll create the scope for that teleport with a difference function. Before I might have rushed past this part, but remember at the top, public transform head transform. You just need that variable declared over there. Okay, so back here. Cool. So when we're going to teleport with the difference. So now what are we doing inside of this function is first we want to calculate the difference between the user's head and the center of the camera ring. Now to do that we do vector3, we're just going to declare this variable because it just needs to exist temporarily. Difference camera rig transform dot position minus head transform dot position. Once we figure that out, we're also going to make the difference in the y value 0 because we don't necessarily want to adjust that because that will then start to make our camera rig move up and down a lot. So let's go back into this and I'll show you what I mean. So now this is a top-down view, right? Like this is X, this is Y, which is fine, but if we look at this from the side, it's always going to look more like this. This is a side view, and this is the center of our camera rig. Our user is going to end up looking a bit more like this, right? And the user's camera head is over here somewhere. And so when we're calculating the difference, we really only want this difference. We don't want to include the Y, because then our camera rig starts having some problems teleporting properly. It's going to start adjusting this change as well. So in our script, we're just going to take the difference in the Y and just set that to 0. Now, like we did before, should teleport, we'll just make that false. And finally, actually teleporting, we're going to use camera rig transform dot position is equal to hit point plus difference. There you go. So this is us adding the difference. So this one was us calculating the green line there. So this is us calculating, figuring out what this green line is, the values between the two. And then when we actually teleport, we use the hit point, which is where we want to go, plus the difference, so that here is where we want to go, but we move the camera rig plus the distance, plus the difference, so that it looks a bit smoother here. Okay, so leave that up. Let you write that down. I'm going to go over it again here in a bit.
Okay, got it.
You got it? Alright. You want to give it a go? Now, it's odd to test it out with your simulated hand, but this is what we're going to do. Oh, don't need this anymore. Okay. So now, to show it working with your simulated hand, we're going to make a small little plane, small little cube underneath. This is my hand PM. I'm going to right click, create a 3D cube, add its position, that's fine. I'm going to bring it down like this, so that it's underneath, and this will represent our camera rig. So hand PM is at 160, well, I guess it doesn't matter too much, but there we go. I have this relative position. I'm going to take my hand PM object, make it a child of this cube, making sure not to resize this cube because that will warp my hand model as well. So now in here, our hand PM, we're going to attach that script. Our projects tab, pointer AN, and move, that's fine. So now my teleport AN script has the new head transform public variable on it. So now camera rig, we're going to replace that with this cube that we just made a child. We made our parent, and then the head transform is going to be our actual hand. This is going to be similar to how we have it set up with the camera rig. So when I hit play now, you'll see this behave similar to how our camera rig behaves. You know, it doesn't move when our player moves, but when we teleport, camera rig moves. Well, right. I think I have this backwards. The hand PM, the head transform might need to be the cube, and the camera rig transform, I think I named these backwards, is to be the hand. Alright, let me double check here. There we go. And then our hand gets teleported over here. I think it's just a matter of this works better with the actual Vive controller. It was right the first time. There we go. So when you're using it with the Vive controller, what you want it to do is this script, teleport AN. You have the laser prefab, which, as you know, needs to be one of your lasers here. So let's just say laser AN. And then the camera rig transform is going to be the whole camera rig. And then the head transform is just going to be your camera head. Just like that. So that should line it up pretty nicely. When you get the chance, Scotty, I want you to test it out. But hopefully this is at least teleporting for you. How's it looking?
You lost me at the create the hand and the cube within the hand. I think I got it, but I was watching you, so
Okay.
I can do it real quick. I think it's easier to share my screen so you can see what I'm doing.
Right on. Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, so now create 3D object cube. So what am I missing here? Why is it not showing up? Get out of there. What am I doing wrong? Is that
Just
me?
need to rotate it. Yeah.
Okay.
Along the red, I believe.
All right.
Oh, you know what? Just take its rotation and just set that to 0. Yeah, that should be good enough. Right. And then you can just make that. I see. So click and drag that so it's no longer a child of the cube, of the hand. So I can drag it right above the hand. Yeah, there you go. And that cube, you want to make sure it's proportioned well. So select the cube's scale and just set those all to 333. Alrighty. And then yeah, now just make your hand a child of the cube. And then in your teleport script, you're going to pretend like that cube is the camera rig and the hand itself is the camera head. So the teleport script should have the update. So let's open up your teleport script and see what's going on over there. Teleport with a difference is causing some sort of error.
I might have spelled it wrong up here. Hold on here. Nope. Nope.
I believe in the bottom there is where you have it written.
Yeah.
Teleport with a difference. Just take line 83, which is where you've written it out. Just copy that and paste it into line 74. There you go. Do that on.
Okay, so. Okay, just update it. So head transform will be. Is head transform the cube?
The head transform is the hand itself.
So head transform is the hand. Camera rig is the cube.
Now the goal here was to help mimic the whole user of the camera rig system.
Okay. So
you want to be kind of outside of the
is that good?
Yeah, and so now when you teleport, you should teleport to the rough location you're going to, but then have the camera rig still be to your left side.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, it works. Awesome.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So yeah, now it's you actually teleporting where you want to go, not the whole camera rig.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay.
Cool, cool. Alright, so we got 5 minutes left. Okay, what else can I cover in that time?
Are we done with class?
Pretty much.
We got some. Okay. Just again, can you just tell me what I need to do to find my controllers? So when I go into hook up the Vive and I'm going into the actual scene, press and play.
Yeah, we'll see if we can figure out that now. Turn off the hand altogether. Just turn it off, yeah. So you have another camera somewhere, so we gotta find that camera. Go up to the top where it says create. Right next to it there's a search bar. Right there, type in camera. Okay. So you have the camera, ears, eye, head, camera rig, that's fine. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Remove those, just erase that out. Okay. So now select camera rig. I want to see if you turn this one off, does the game view no longer show anything? That's the goal here. I want to see if that's the case. So go ahead, uncheck it. Okay, perfect. So now it's good. If the camera rig is off, and that means every other camera is off too now. Cool. Now where is your camera rig? It looks like it might be a bit low or something. So you turn it back on. What is it seeing right now? Launch. What is this launch option? Okay, yeah, hit play and see what's going on. Is your Vive set up, hooked up with it?
No, not yet. No, you want me to hook it up? Because if I hook it up, I lose my second screen. So let me.
That's fine. We only need to talk now, Scotty. I don't need to show you anything.
Okay. So this is always complex for me. So just to make sure I'm doing the right thing, I'm unhooking my monitor and hooking up my Vive and still talk to you? Because I don't know how I
Yes.
can do that. All right, I don't know how I'm gonna do that. All right.
You don't need the second monitor connected, but can you not talk to me without the second monitor? What's up with that?
Because well, yeah. Actually, I had these gaming headsets you recommended. They use a USB port,
Hmm. Oh,
and
there's not enough?
yeah, I'm just still learning how this works. So,
I see.
um, because if I take the headsets off, how would I be able to hear you?
Yeah. You don't actually have to wear your headset too much. Like you can sort of.
So I can just take it out and just listen to you through my computer.
Sure, yeah, that works too.
Okay.
Might even be able to hear me through the Vive. Alright. Scotty, can you still hear me? Scotty.
Yeah, I don't know what to do. Can you hear me?
Yes. You
All
when
right.
you hit
When I plugged up the Vibe, everything went black. So
hmm,
I don't know if it's my hooking it up messes it up, but I hooked it up and I could no longer hear you, and I just panicked.
I see. Now with the Vive, when you plug it in, does it have a red light on the side or a green light?
It's it was green.
It was green? Okay.
Yeah, it is green. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. So it's green. Um, the problem is once I plug it in, I can't hear you, so I'm kind of disoriented as far as what I need to do. So I just kind of freaked out. So I just said I forget it. So I just ejected everything and just came back
Sorry.
and did it.
I
Did it
just
like I should.
I couldn't see anything happening in Unity, that's the only thing. In terms of trying it out, what I get you to try is once it's plugged in,
Yeah.
um, do the regular setup with the Steam VR.
Yep.
Sometimes you need to log into Steam to even make it work. Once you've done that, when you hit play, you should be able to see your controllers at this point because it seems as only the camera rig cameras are on right now.
Okay. Okay. And I will go back in and figure out how to configure them to my hands. Because right now I just have one because I was using the keyboard. So I got to go back to that lesson and create the left hand and configure them to where I can actually function. That's my only thing that's frustrating me, hanging me up right now.
Okay, so you feel like it's after you've got your Vive up and running, you're good to go. Is the idea?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay,
And so those are just the little things that are still, kind of
holding
freaking
back.
me out. Yeah. Cause I'm like, okay, this isn't, and you're not there. So I don't have a resource. So I just panic and then I just try to go to forums and they're even more confusing. So,
Nice.
but I'll get it. I'll get it.
Okay. All right. Well, I wish you the best of luck. I'll see you on Wednesday. All right.
Sounds good.
All
Thanks.
right. Chad, you listen to this recording. I hope everything's all right with your father. I'll hopefully see you on Wednesday as well. Take care.